The hubris of these talking heads on television about Letitia James trying to abscond the assets of Donald Trump in this crazy sham indictment, conviction, fine in New York City is just absurd. The hubris. Let's watch.
In Trump's financial misery.
Donald John Trump is broke and begging for money. Carry the three. Just get her to carry the.
Is Letitia James going to go, like, put a chain on Trump Tower?
And I can't wait to see the chains on Trump Tower, actually, on Fifth Avenue. I'm, like, kind of excited about it.
They can even seize his plane. I vote for that. I can think of nothing more delightful.
He's going to say, you're cheating me. You're trying to destroy me by not getting the right price. Well, go find your own buyer then, Donald.
Now he's down to 10 revivals in Florida. Maybe he'll be selling blessed oil before this is over.
It's really obnoxious how gleeful these people can be. If Hunter Biden finally got brought up on charges and how he's skirting these charges of having a weapon when he was already a convicted felon, drug user, was anybody else, there would have been fast-track trial and we would have been doing prison time, 2 to 4 years. But he's skating around like nothing has happened. If he was convicted on these charges of the gun possession with drugs, and then, of course, all of this, appearance of corruption by working with Burisma and the CCP and working to enrich his family in unusual ways through all of these, 25 or 30 shell companies. If, in fact, he was actually convicted of any of that criminal activity, everybody on the right would say it's a good day, but it's a sad day that we have determined that there is that type of criminality and really working under the guise of, just doing good business internationally, that he's working with foreign actors that don't have the United States' best interests at heart. People on the right wouldn't be jumping up and down and gleeful. Yeah, maybe there's some that would be, but this is insidious. Can you imagine that you were brought up on charges, being Trump, about fraud in real estate loans? Now, I've gone through this in the past where saying to get a home equity line of credit, we actually just went through it. We're saying our house is worth $750,000. It's worth that's what I think it is. It's worth $750,000. You know what the bank does? If you've ever gone to get a loan, they do an appraisal themselves and a comparable of homes your size, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths in the local market area and what it's been selling for, and then they assign their own value to how much money they're going to give you based upon what they deem and estimate to be the value of your real estate. So Trump could say it's worth whatever he wants, but it's up to the bank to actually make that final determination. They didn't go after him. They didn't say they got defrauded. They didn't say they got cheated. Matter of fact, where's Letitia James tying in the bank that they actually, obviously, in this crime, they were conspirators in perpetrating this crime, cheating out stockholders and everything else, but nobody went after them. You know what's interesting? I want you to take a look at this. So look at this. Bernie Madoff. Do you remember Bernie Madoff? Running a Ponzi scheme, the largest Ponzi scheme in history. He defrauded thousands of investors. We knew people that he defrauded. He added tens of billions of dollars over 17 years, and he probably did it for longer. And they gave him a bond to get out during trial. $10 million. $10 million. And he defrauded and harmed people who had their life savings in with them. 70, 75 years old. They then had nothing. And then they had to go move in with their kids, or maybe they had to go back to work. He really hurt people. $10 million. Trump, like him or hate him, the whole thing is to try to understand this whole thing. $455 million. Nobody claimed that they were a victim or they felt like they were defrauded. The banks didn't complain, bitch or moan. They were paid back with interest on time, ahead of schedule, and they still wanted to do more business. So I get kind of crazy when I see all this because I say, put yourself in this guy's shoes. What if your neighbor who didn't like you, your dog was, pooping all over his lawn, and he says, stop pooping on my lawn. And you're like, I don't care, I'm going to keep pooping on your lawn. And then, all of a sudden, you were getting hit with, all kinds of problems, code violations at your house, and it just kept coming and coming because this person next door, your neighbor, knew the town supervisor, or you knew the county supervisor. And then all of a sudden, there was all kinds of violations and fines you were getting, and all of a sudden there was a lien on your property and your house, and all this stuff was just completely fantasized, and you were in the middle, and it was just an aggravating thing because now you have liens on your house and judgments, and then all of a sudden, you're being harassed by town code inspectors and whatnot. Well, that's what's happening to this guy. Now I'm saying, just to look at it from that perspective, if you didn't think you were doing anything wrong, you were using the codes and laws that are on the books, and you go to the bank and say, I want a loan. How much is your apartment worth? It's worth $30 million. And they say, listen, similarly situated apartments in New York City are only worth $3 million, not 30. Well, I say it's worth 30. All right, well, you're going to have to go to another bank. Maybe they'll give you, $10 million loan on your $30 million, apartment. But we only say it's worth $3 million, so we can only give you $300,000. That's how it works, okay? So I'd be crazy if I was Donald Trump, and then all of a sudden, with no calculus, we don't know what this calculus is. What did Judge Engoron come up with the calculus to figure out that it was all in $455 million? What was the calculus? If I was Trump and his attorneys, I'd be crazy and nuts. All these people, judging me, they're really just trying to hurt him emotionally, psychologically. I think they want him to have a heart attack so he doesn't have to make the election. But again, like I said, Trump is like Doomsday from the Superman comic books. The more you hurt him, the stronger he gets. And he just keeps coming. It's so funny. He got Al Sharpton was going off like Trump, like hawking Bibles, trying to raise the money or something. He forgets that, him and Jesse Jackson, they were arm in arm kissing Trump once upon a time back in the day, maybe sometime in the 80s, about how great Trump was to the, black Americans in New York City, and what a trailblazer in helping to employ various folks in the city. They gave him some kind of a humanitarian award, for crying out loud. Now all of a sudden he's a racist, and he's gonna bring democracy to its knees, and he's an authoritarian and a dictator and a fascist. So amazing. Politics makes for strange bedfellows. But Sharpton himself, if you see that, he owed years ago, if you remember. What was the date of that? I can't even see it from here. It's 2014? November 2014. That looks like what it said. So basically, the article at the time was written was more than 2 years old, but he owed like $4.5 million on a tax bill, if you see it. And it went on to say in the next slide. Next, Mr. Sharpton said to be doing his best to pay back the money, in part from donations to his organization. So you're going off on Trump about maybe the RNC picking up his legal bills for all of this witch hunt on all of these crimes and indictments that, are failing to stick. People just want to see him get hurt because they just don't like him personally. But, you could see it says here, he may have lent money or refrained from taking a salary at times. However, records are key to this kind of issue, and rough justice in tax matters is hard to justify. So it's really silly that, people like Al Sharpton want to go off on Trump when they themselves, are living in this glass house, chucking rocks at Trump. Like I said, you keep going after Trump, you beat him, the stronger he gets, and he comes back, and he just keeps coming. One thing I got to say about the left, they have very short memories, and they forget to remember and don't realize the more you come after Trump, the harder he comes back at you. You punch him, he punches harder. And the more that you just undermine him and poke fun at him and laugh at him, I think you underestimate him. And you know what happened the last time that happened? Let's take a look.
Joe Biden also thinks it's hilarious that his lackeys are trying to bankrupt his political opponent, telling a group of donors this, quote, "Just the other day, a defeated-looking man came up to me and said, 'Mr. President, I have crushing debt, and I'm completely wiped out.' And I had to look at him and say, 'Donald, I'm sorry. I can't help you.'" They can laugh all they want. But millions of Americans are waking up to the Democrats' lawfare, and one pundit's warning that they may pay a price for it in November.
If the New York Attorney General starts to take his homes away, starts to seize his assets, it's all going to be on camera. Pundits are going to sit there and scream about this. This man cannot be elected. You're going to create the greatest victimhood of 2024, and you're going to elect Donald Trump.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump. That's not going to happen.
Donald Trump will not become president.
He's not going to be president. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank.
Okay.
I guarantee it.
All right.
I think if he becomes the president, he'll make it great because the states is already.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
On that note, Tom.
Take it from me. How about that?
Cheers, Tom. And then, of course, there's Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Donald Trump, just last week, he confirmed to the National Review that he is again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it. I will personally write you a campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
So when you stand and deliver that State of the Union address, in no part of your mind or brain can you imagine Donald Trump standing up one day and delivering a State of the Union address?
Well, I can imagine it in a Saturday night skit. I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
He will never be president of the United States.
And we better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next. I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
Sorry to laugh.
Okay, here we are. And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones right now, Donald Trump.
And so, right now, Mr. Trump, to answer your call for political honesty, I just want to say, you're not going to be president, all right? But come on, buddy. All, let's say, cow poo-poo aside, there is zero chance we'll be seeing you being sworn in on the Capitol steps with your hand on a giant golden Bible.
Do you forget you mocked them? Do you forget that you, in poor taste and really in a nasty way, teased him, mocked him, made fun of him, said he couldn't win? There's no way he's going to win. He'll never be president. You know, dinosaurs will come down a cave. All these elites that think that they know better, they're not living the life that you're living. And that's what's crazy about the left. The left, which was the Democratic Party, was the party of the working man, so to speak. They are now, if you don't realize that they're the party of the elitists, the limousine liberals. And they feel that they're better than everybody in most cases. They can't handle the fact that you would vote your own way. And then if they do, if you do tell them that you do vote conservative, you do vote for Republicans, or you do vote for folks on the right, then they want to hate on you, and they can't talk to you, and then they talk down to you or at you, or they feel like they're better than you are. Now, people like me, people on the right of center, you vote however you want to vote. And I don't say that, you're not entitled to however you're supposed to vote. Vote the way you want to vote. But I don't criticize and demean and condescendingly mock and talk down to people that don't vote the way I vote, but people on the left certainly do. Now, I can tell you this. If you don't realize that people in politics, especially attorney generals, DAs, should do their jobs in justice dispassionately, and if you don't see that they have a motive where they're saying, you show me the person, I'll find you the crime. This is the best example of somebody who is a passionate activist and not a dispassionate jurist. Let's watch.
And so, I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
Will you sue him for us? Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the He's going to know my name personally.
President Trump cannot avoid justice in the great state of New York.
I mean, honestly, how is this even happening?
Well, you have, again, a rogue prosecutor like Letitia James who has, a political base that is in favor of her actions. And then you have a judge that in Manhattan that's willing to go along with it. No one is above the law. That's the one thing she's right on. But nobody is below the law either. And American citizens shouldn't be targeted individually for their political beliefs, which is exactly what's happening to Donald Trump in these blue jurisdictions. And it's just lawfare at its absolute worst. And again, if this continues and is allowed to happen by these appeals courts and the Supreme Court, then I think you're going to end up with a collapse of the American justice system, and the American people are not going to have faith in the system.
This has been a hard week of truths. I hate to say it. I haven't really had a lot of fun doing any kind of, reporting and oversight of this kind of stuff this week, because it's troubling to see how the justice system is currently working, not only locally, but in the country. When you have people that are allowed to get out on no bail, that are threatening people or assaulting people, punching people, attacking people on trains and in the city, and then you have somebody that's out convicted that kills a police officer in Queens, to 21 times that he's been, arrested and convicted and done time. How much more opportunity do you give somebody like that? It is not a fair and equitable justice system, especially when it starts going after people. I understand, that there are people that get involved in the criminal justice system, and it's not very rehabilitative, and that's a really bad cycle to be in. But when the justice system is being used against political opponents, as you see what's going on with Trump, as he says, it could be anybody. So I wouldn't want the law going after a Democrat like that. Albeit, when you look at everything about Hunter Biden, here's a drug user. He was into prostitutes. He was probably trafficking prostitutes across the state lines. He had a weapon on him that he was caught with. He shouldn't have a weapon. And he was a convicted felon. Was anybody else, we wouldn't be out. But because his last name is Biden, he's tied into the axis of power. And you have somebody like Letitia James. Can't get too mad at the Attorney General's office in New York. Me, quite frankly, because I've had some help from the New York Attorney General's office in the past. But when you see this going on, where this person is not a dispassionate jurist, but rather a political activist going after a political enemy and pinning crimes on this person and chasing them, and there's no victims, there's no evidence of fraud, it's anything anybody else would do. I'm going to say my house is worth this, the bank is going to tell me it's worth this, and is only going to loan me this. Well, he did the same thing, just put a lot more commas and zeros on it. And they are chasing him and trying to punish him and trying to, use an excessive form of punishment to just either make him have a heart attack or beat him down or rob him of his wealth so that he's going to just maybe give up, back off. But you know him. He's just going to keep coming. He just gets stronger with this kind of aggravation. God only knows how he does it, because we all know none of us could handle even this much of the fight they bring to this guy every single day.